There won't be sports anytime soon. There won't be sports at Georgia anytime soon. And we're going to try to get you through the next couple of weeks here by talking about what to expect moving forward. Dean Legge, Matt DeBerry from Dog Post, Making You Smarter, Georgia fan. Matt, I thought we were going to be getting ready for spring football. We are not. And we're not doing recruiting. No one's doing recruiting. There are a slew of things that have been canceled in the last 24 hours. Certainly, March 12th will go down as a day in American history that very few will match. And, you start talking about 10% loss on the stock market, all of these sporting events closing. It's just been a fantastical day, and not in a good way. Where do we go from here? I mean, what should fans be expecting? You are in the midst of going around the state talking with prospects. Stuff like that's out now because school's not even in session.
Well, I'm glad I did that last week. We kind of thought this would happen soon. We've talked about it before, but this thing started getting more and more serious by the day. So I went out and saw some top Georgia targets last week, wrote some stories about those guys that you can find over on Dog Post if you're looking for stuff to read, if you're still trying to get your recruiting fixed in. There's plenty of updates over there. But, yeah, it all seems still kind of like a dream. I woke up the other night, kind of disappointed that the NBA season was, suspended. And then the next 24 hours, everything else got canceled. March Madness. Today was the Masters, MLB. So very, very crazy day overall. As it relates to recruiting, the last thing I saw was that the NCAA suspended all recruiting across all sports. It's now in the dead period immediately until like April 15th. So I do believe text and phone calls can be made and all that, but no visits from the staff, no on-campus visits from players to go see schools, which, was supposed to happen, this month. I wrote last week a story about all these prospects from across the country who plan to see Georgia in March while they could, and those visits will no longer happen. So Georgia and Kirby Smart will find a way to, get another recruiting class that will be one of the nation's best, obviously, in 21. So it might not affect them as much because they'll find a way. They're excellent recruiters. They're some of the nation's best. But it is going to hurt a lot of these other programs who are trying to take that next step, not only in recruiting, but in their program as well. So, we're still trying to find out the latest. And there's new news breaking, seems like every hour now. But, yeah, this is a big deal. And it looks like we're going to be without sports and now Georgia spring practice for a while now.
Well, it's the right move for a lot of different reasons.
No doubt.
I think that the being cautious is a good thing when you're talking about whether you're talking about crossing the street or a pandemic. So certainly one is more serious than the other. I know that I'm washing my hands nonstop, but I think for Jamie Newman, for guys like that. Let me put this in perspective before we start talking about all that. There's nothing more important than the health of a human being. Okay, full stop, period. Now, moving forward, what does it mean for the development of Jamie Newman, Carson Beck, etc.? I mean, no one is ever going to have a spring of their freshman year like Carson Beck has had. I mean, in Georgia history from here on out. So it doesn't help the new things at Georgia to delay things here. But this is the reality that we're living with. And I don't think that, everyone's dealing with this. That's all there is to it. I think it was the right move. I think that people have to understand, and I think the country recognizes that there's things far more serious and more important than sports. What Georgia's doing right now, I don't know. There's, if a coach or a player went out of the country, Matt, during spring break, the university, and I know this is a fact, will not permit that person to come on. They are not allowed to come on campus for 14 days. They are supposed to not be on campus for 14 days. I don't know where the coaches went, if they went anywhere at all. I don't know where the kids went, but it's not that hard to go to Cancun. And
right.
A week ago, going on a cruise ship wasn't considered nuts like it is now. So there could football, you know, when you start talking about classes will be delayed for 2 weeks, it looks like elementary schools and high schools, K through 12, those are going to be shut down in Georgia for at least 2 weeks. We're going to try to get a hold on this thing and take it from there. I mean, as an athlete, I would imagine that you're a little bit, unless you're a tennis player or maybe a golfer and you're used to weather delays, you're not used to this sort of stuff. You're used to going out and doing your thing. If you're a senior in high school or junior, rising senior, this is disrupting your ability to make decisions. It won't disrupt it completely, Matt, but it matters.
Yeah, we'll see how many kids stop actually like working out in the gym and stuff like that. Probably not a lot. These kids want to get out there and still be active and try to get better, especially some of these high school prospects still trying to earn offers. But Carson Beck had a video up on Twitter earlier today, throwing, still working. So guys like that who are just enrolled, these early enrollees, they're not going to stop the progress they've made since they've got there. They're going to be out throwing the balls, working out, and stuff like that. But it'll be tough for guys like Jamie Newman and Carson Beck to build chemistry with the receivers, which is what this spring was going to be about. And that's something that we were going to watch closely as we head to the spring game. I guess there will be no spring game. Information's still coming out, obviously, but
we don't know. We don't know right now. I mean, once you're talking about that's a little different than playing basketball tournaments inside, but this is a surface-related pandemic. It's not exclusive to the air, so if there's just as much to touch in Sanford Stadium as there is in a basketball facility. I think I look at it like this in terms of practice. Georgia can do spring practice in June. That doesn't matter. They can delay things and it's not optimal, but there's plenty of things that aren't optimal in life. None of these kids are guaranteed tomorrow. They could have leukemia. I mean, so this is unfair and it's not right, but you have to adapt. And sometimes you're with. Sometimes I jokingly say compete, but this is one of those times where not just these athletes, but everybody is going to have to buckle down, do the right thing. You don't need to be shaking hands, okay? At church, when the preacher's at the door, you need to sidestep that. There's no reason to shake hands with people, not right now. You need to be washing your hands, etc. Follow what the CDC is saying. And the kids who are in the weight room, hey, look, you got to wipe down everything. You got to be certain to be careful out there. And, in the locker room, you got to respect everybody's space. Things should be wiped down, etc. That's not normal, man. Like when you go into your dorm room or when you're working out, you're not wiping down the treadmill. I know you don't work out, Matt, but if you did, you would, right?
I try to work out when I can. I still get my running in here and there, and I got some weights up in the upstairs that I try. But no, I think it is a tough time right now, and everyone, safety and health, being healthy is number one. We'll get past this next 6 or 8 weeks or so without sports. It's not great, especially just for the average fan, and to keep everyone posted on Georgia football, it's going to be a little tough. But at the end of the day, it's not as serious as what's going on, and the last thing we need is coaches and players from across the country getting this virus, having to sit out and become sick, and then who knows what happens after that.
Well, there's there's going to be not enough hospital beds. There's a lot of concerns here, but the biggest thing is there could be all sorts of things that where people don't maybe die, but it will make it will really really slam down on hospitals, and what are the ramifications from that? Just transitioning one thing here too, though, Matt, is you can tell that the Southeastern Conference is frustrated with the NCAA. You can tell that they felt like maybe they canceled the baseball season a little early. I mean, that thing almost runs to July 4th. You can always cancel things, but I think the SEC. Now no one at the SEC is saying this to me, but I can tell, that they're saying they're wondering, why aren't we hearing things quicker? what is taking so long for y'all to communicate with us? Uh, you know, if y'all knew you were going to cancel the NCAA tournament, why didn't you tell us that before Nashville? And they may not have known. But like, should they have played Georgia and Ole Miss? You know what? Probably not. And one last rant here. I don't think this will happen. And again, people's health is more important than anything. But it does make me wonder with this pause. I mean, the NBA was the first to pause. Does that, is the NBA going to play in the winter? Um, I think they will. But does this say to Anthony Edwards, hey, you didn't quite get a full season at Georgia. Do you want? He said the other day he had not made a decision as if he was coming back yet, which is interesting. But does he decide to come back? And I just don't know. There are so many unknowns right now, and if the stock market hates unknowns, which it certainly does, athletes and coaches who are total control freaks hate the unknown. I just wonder what's going through the mind of Jake Fromm right now. What's going through the mind of Jamie Newman? What is Kirby Smart thinking right now? What is Urban Meyer? What about Dabo? How are they getting used to what has become the new normal, which is that they don't matter as much as they did yesterday? How are they getting their teams ready for a fall that will probably exist but might not? Those are the questions that I wonder, Matt, and we won't know the answer to those questions maybe ever.
No, I don't think so. But if you're Kirby Smart, you're really wishing, I think, that Jake Fromm was back to have your leader at
Yeah.
quarterback who
Yeah.
knows all these guys. It's probably a little easier on Kirby if he had Jake Fromm around instead of, again, trying to figure out the quarterback situation in this giant mess now. But again, that comes second to everything else. And hopefully everyone stays safe out there. But Georgia football will be fine. But yeah, Kirby's got to be a little worried right now. But hopefully it'll all come back around and we can get this thing past us. But it doesn't look like it's going to get any better anytime soon. Maybe it will. I'm no scientist. I just cover recruiting and some of the team. But it looks like we're going to be in a tough spot for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And we'll see how it unfolds between Georgia football and the rest of the countries and all the sports combined.
Make sure you wash your hands. Make sure you watch the next video, and we'll see you over on Dog Post.